Chips.
Hey everyone, Bogdan here from Ship Studios. I'm back today with the second part of the digital watch tutorial for Blender 3.0. We got a lot of work to cover on this one, so let's get cracking. So here is where we left off in the previous tutorial. Let's get to wireframe mode, and then we want to animate this part. So we can't actually just write 58 and then 57 and that won't work, and it won't work either if we go and edit this and press enter and then create, let's say, 59 or 58, and then we want to replace those. That won't work either. So what we actually have to do is to separate the digits for the seconds. We will be animating those and we want to have separate instances for both. So let's do that. Let's leave just a 5 from 59. And then we'll do another one for the seconds. So we leave this as it is, and then we duplicate it and move it to the left right here. And then we go into edit mode and write 9. And then we'll be doing for each of those. If you want to modify the minute, you can actually do that for the minutes and so on for the hours. So maybe you want a really long timer just because, I don't know, maybe a stream service or maybe something like that, and you'd like an animation to keep on running for 1 hour. Though I don't recommend it, that would just be a waste of time. So let's rename those to separator. And then this one can have the same name. And this will be minute 1, and this will be minute 2, and second 1, and second 2. Now that we have those separated, we can actually go around by pressing enter and write 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, and 0 for the seconds. And then as we go for minutes, as you all know, we don't have 60 something or 70 something minutes, so we'll just go from 5 back to 0. And now that we have this as a setup, we can do it for the minutes also. I won't be doing the animation for the minutes in this tutorial because it would take too long, but this is the model, so if you want to use it, you have it here. And as for the hour, we don't touch that. It's way too much. So what we like to do is to make the numbers that are going out of the case not visible. And then we want to replace them by moving them on the Z-axis, just like this. Now, how we do that? This is the tricky part. So what I actually found the solution is to use the Bool Tool that you can get in Blender. But first, let me just separate the rim here. We'll be using the inside rim that we created the light for the watch, and we'll be actually using it to separate our seconds and our minutes. So I'll duplicate it and call it inside rim sec 2, and then there will be one for sec 1 and minute 1 and minute 2. We can select sec 2 and inside rim 2, but let's apply the scale first. And as you can see, the rim is inside the watch, so the cutting won't be visible. And we go to tool. We should be having the Bool tool in the edit tab. And if we select both of these, the sec2 and inside rim sec2, then we go for brush intersect, does nothing, right? That is mainly because we don't have a mesh for now. So what we want to do is to convert the text right now to mesh. And take care, by doing that you won't be having an editable text anymore. So you can either duplicate it and save it up if you want to make any changes. If not, just change it to mesh and don't bother. And then the separators we can leave them as they are, and the hour 2. Then you select sec2 and inside rim sec2 and press intersect, and it doesn't work like it should, right? So you don't see the digits anymore. And this is actually because we have a placing problem. We can't see it from the front view, so we'll actually have to go into perspective or into side view. And as you will probably see, the digits are not aligned with the inside rim. And it's also the problem that the inside rim is actually smaller than the digits, so we'll have to drag the rim back a bit and make it a bit wider so that it can actually cover the whole mesh of the digits. Else it just won't show the digits inside. So this should be enough. Let's align the origin, and if we go back and then we select again sec2 and inside the rim sec2, and then we press intersect. Now it's working like it should properly. So right now we can actually go and move the digits around on the z-axis, and it will have the effect that we are searching for. So let's go, and this is 8, this is 7, this is 6, 5, and so on. You get the idea. So let's get back. And we have to do the same for the other digits. So let's create another inside rim sec. If we just try to use the first one, it won't work. It's a glitch mostly. And we have to create a separate rim for each digit. Okay, so if we go, and we actually have to take the brush off because Blender has a bug that I found, that if you have a brush applied, you have to first delete the other brush also, and then you need to create them over again. Okay, now this should be clean and should be working properly. Okay, none of them have the brush anymore. And then I'll be creating another 2 rim for minute 1 and minute 2. And none of them have a brush, so right now it should be working as intended. So this is for second 2 and this is for second 1. And then we can go to minutes and select minute 1, rim minute 1. And here we are. So right now the setup is ready for all the digits. They all work as intended. I usually like to check them to see that I don't get any bug by using the Bool tool. Okay. And we actually created right now a rig. And if we move the seconds or the minutes, we can just create our animation. But let's actually create first a camera so that we can look through, make it a bit more cinematic. Let's rotate it on the axis and then go and look through the camera. And then we can actually press J to move the camera and R to rotate it. Not this way, maybe. Okay, let's go for about this angle. Maybe a bit higher. And I'm actually trying to center it, but with a bit of an angle. And this should be enough. Okay, if we go to view and press camera to view, we can actually move the mouse around, and when you will stop on a certain view, the camera will stop with you too. But I think I'll just keep the front view and just zoom it back a bit for now. Then uncheck it. If not, the camera will follow you around. Now let's move around the light and maybe change it to area. It gives softer shadows. Okay, let's rotate it this way and move it a bit back. So we have a bit of a fall of light. Maybe a bit too much. Okay. This height is just fine. You can play around with it, like you can maybe put a plane for background and a spot right on the clock. It all depends on your taste, I guess. Now we can actually go to the next phase, the animation one. And usually when you start animating something, you really want to think about the frame rate that you'll be using. I went for 25 frames per second, and if I want 10 seconds of animation, well, 250 seems just fine. But if I want 20 seconds, let's say we can go to 500 frames. And I usually have a working resolution of 2K. That's what my monitor size is and the resolution, so I'll just keep that. I like to play around with the color of the light, maybe. That doesn't look good. I'll keep it white, but I'll go for ellipse. Or disc. Yeah, this looks a bit better with the shadows. Maybe take this down a bit. Actually 1000 looks just fine, so let's keep it as that. Now let's make sure we don't select the camera or the light, and if we select each digit, so we go for second 2, and then one frame would be 1 second, so we'll have to move 25 frames, and we go to frame 25. You can just write it in here, but first let's put a keyframe for the position for second 2 on frame 1, and you can do it either from the animation tab or you can do it from the view, doesn't really matter. And I'll just apply first everything. Okay, apply location for each of them. I'm actually applying rotation and location for each because we'll be moving the seconds and the minute. We'll be moving each by 1 instance. So if you go to frame 25, you can actually press J, Z, and 1, and it will move exactly to the other digit. Okay, and then we can keyframe this one also. So it moved it 1 meter. We have a huge clock, don't judge. And if we go to frame 50, we can change to the other frame and so on until we get to the last second. Okay, so these are the seconds. They look properly with the keyframes, and then what you want to do is to set them to linear. You don't want any interpolation with them, so they act as they should. Let's play a bit the animation. It looks just fine. And after the 0 second, we actually have to change the 5 to a 4 for second 1. Let's go to the animation tab. And right here, what I'll show you is we can actually set up for keyframes, we can set up modifiers. And what we will be going for in this tutorial is the one that will repeat the animation. In Blender, it's called cycles. So right now what I did is I created a cycle for the seconds. So when each cycle is finished, it will just run the animation all over again. And we just made our seconds into an infinite stack. It goes from 9 to 0, and then it will just automatically play them from 0 again. And this is a really easy way to automatize some of your work. You don't have to animate everything by hand. This transition is a bit weird, but your eye won't actually have time for it to actually see it properly. We could set up something like a small delay, but it will actually look weird in time, so let's keep it as that. Usually with digital watches, you'll have an instant change instead of a ladder of digits, let's say like we have right now, so it should be fine. If you're really bothered, you can just apply some motion blur to it and nobody will see the difference. Now we need to repeat the process for the sec2. So each time 10 instances of sec2 have passed, we will change sec1. So the first one will be at 225 frames to put a base, and then at 250, and then we need to set up a change again at this point at 450 frames. It changes again. And if you want, you can actually automate this one to go back to 0, and you can do the same as you did for second 2, but we don't have to because this tutorial would be taking so much to render, but you can see that it's working right now. Okay, and we make this linear also. And this is pretty much the animation that we have. As I said, we could actually go from some motion blur, but we don't have to. It looks pretty clean to me that way. And if you'd like, you can actually do the same for minutes, but it would take so much time to render that it's not worth it. You can probably find a better way to make a huge timer, like maybe a generator online, and you don't have to make this much of a hassle, but for like maybe just a couple of frames into your video or maybe into your animation film, you can just use this method. And I don't want to use motion blur because it would take more time to render. So what we have to do right now, we have to set up a save path. Okay. And this is pretty much it. This is the content that we had to cover for today. Let's make a render test. Let's see how it looks without noise. Okay. This frame looks just fine. So this is it for today. That's what we wanted to show you about how we made a digital watch timer in Blender 3.0. We'll be going around making more tutorials for people that are interested. So if you do, please like, share, subscribe, and follow, and see you next time. Bye. Lights take me where I wanna visit. Are you